All right. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Just as I went live, I've got my dog in my studio, and he, of course, he's been sitting down really silently the whole time, and he just got up as soon as I started the stream. So if you hear any weird dog noises, you know what's going on. So hi, everyone. Really happy to be here. Thanks for joining me, everyone. And hey to Hydrotech legend, the resident Italian stallion is in. And Zeka, is it Zeka? Avery from, where are you from? From Connecticut. Hey, what's up? Nice to see you. And we've got Mary repping ADSR tonight from Boston. And so you're from, Zeka, you're from Florida. Obviously you're an international man of travel, or person, whomever of trouble. All right. So Dwish13 from Canada. Nice stuff. Okay. So really excited to be here. As always, I'm coming to you from my studio in Berlin in Germany, and I am Australian. I'm not German, if you haven't noticed. I'm a producer, mix engineer, and a composer, music geek, all of those things. We've got Sophia from Mexico. Hello, what's up? And I am with ADSR. I've kind of been doing it every week, actually, for the last month, which has been great. And I've been doing mixing, and today and actually 2 weeks ago, we also were focusing on vocal production. So yeah, more vocal production today. We've got Simple Sam. Simple Sam is in. Hello, mate. What's up? Music Box 716. Welcome. Awesome. The vibe is good. New camera angle. Yes. Do you like it? I managed to get internet in my studio that is, stable for the stream. So, yeah. All right. A1. Hello. All right. So if we go back, some of you were at the stream 2 weeks ago. Some of you weren't. If you weren't, check it out. What we did in that stream was we really focused a lot on vocal production from the perspective of sound audio processing, basically, in sound design. Okay, a little bit of focus on shall we say arrangement in terms of the harmony stuff, but for the most part it was really thinking about like transforming vocal sounds. So this week, part 2, I'm going to be focusing on vocal arrangement. So what does that mean? Well, all will be revealed pretty quickly, but we're going to look at things like different parts and different layers that we have in the vocal. Obviously, the lead vocal is a given. I'm not going to talk so much about building lead vocal melody today, though maybe that's something, if you're interested, hit me up and we can talk about it, put it into the chat. We'll also talk about harmonies, like what kinds of vocal harmonies should you create. We'll also think about we'll talk about a little bit about production effects in the context of arrangement that can build the vocal arrangement. Because it's a really important part of modern vocal arrangement is vocal sound design, and then we're going to think about vertical and horizontal aspects of the vocal arrangement. Does that make sense to you? Vertical meaning the stacked things that are happening at once, things like harmonies and layers. And then the horizontal is how is the vocal shaping and developing over time to make the song interesting and make the message of the song and the forward motion and the impact of the production as interesting as possible. Okay, so yes, cool. We've got a really lively chat there, which is really awesome. People are liking my studio. Also, it's a work in progress. I've been in this studio for, 6 months or something like that. And I'm day by day, I'm stacking it full of gear, more sound treatment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty pumped. I'm very happy in my new studio. All right. So with no further ado, we've got Frankie Elliott here, Naughty Chill. Great. Really good to see you all. Okay, so let's zoom over to my other page. Now you're expecting Pro Tools or Ableton or something like that, but in fact, we're going to start off. I'm doing this a little bit different from normal. We're going to do analysis of music. Okay, so what I want to start off with is if you want to figure out how to do something well, go to the source of people who do it really well, right? So I want to pick out some of my favorites, some great singers generally do great vocal arrangement, right? So this is a great place to look at. Now, these are mine. Some of them are new, some of them are old, maybe some of them are cool and uncool. I don't know what you're all into, but hopefully you'll be able to kind of play along with me and then go into your own. And this is the idea, is you're going to have homework today, is that the idea is that you go into your own favorite tracks and do this kind of analysis in your own favorite tracks and try and understand more about how the songs that you love are made up, so that you can kind of steal all that great stuff and develop it in your own work, okay? So as I said, we're going to look at different types of vocal arrangements and lines, talking about harmony in the context of vocal harmonies, production changes to alter the sound, and we think horizontally and vertically. So I'm going to do this arrangement and kind of discussion, deconstruction thing for about like 20 minutes. And then I'm going to show you into one of my tracks called It's Okay by Evol, and I'm going to take you all the way through the vocal, and with this new information that we're going to get when we do this breakdown and analysis, we're going to look into and I'm going to share with you how I put that together. Okay, cool. Okay, so Sophia's understanding the vertical and horizontal. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so the step one, now I also want you to play along with this as I'm doing it. So when I ask you a question like this, what are the different types of vocal arrangement or vocal lines or vocal layers that you can have? So what are the different things that you might use? So we've obviously got lead vocal, but I'm now thinking about what other things can we add to the lead vocal. So I gave you the first one, and that is doubles or doubling. So what might be the other things, other parts, what are the names of the other bits that we add, or we might add, or other vocal producers or singers add to enhance the lead vocal, okay? So put your answers in the chat and, let's play along with it. So doubles is one, obviously one. Cool, Hydrotech has said ad-libs. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so ad-libs is one, really good. Sam's loving the En Vogue track, yeah. Okay, what else? So doubles, ad-libs, just go for it. Everyone, please put your answers into the... So Leonardo over on Facebook is saying punches, pads, and counter melodies. Okay, so counter melodies I like. Pads I'm not sure about. That doesn't sound like vocals. Punches, I think punches might also be named as accents, and so I like that. Yeah, choirs, I say choirs, so we've got harmonic layers. Zeka is also saying harmonies and backing vocals, so harmonic layers. So what I'm also wanting, Zeka, is like, what are backing vocals, right? What, if we think about, and that's what we're going to talk about today, what are the different things that we do that make backing vocals? Productions come from, there's lots of things here. So doubling, yeah, look, doubling and panning. Okay, so Super Sun is asking a question here. Is doubling just panning left and right vocals, or simply just another vocal to support the lead vocal? Really good question. So doubling can be both of those things. So sometimes you have a double that comes in the mono field and supports the main vocal, and other times you'll have doubles that there'll be a main lead vocal, and then you might have two doubles that go either side to create a stereo effect, or you might create a stereo double processing as well, okay? But the idea is that it's exactly the same line as the lead that is doubling, or maybe, and also stereo doubling, yep. Okay, cool. So the answer, well, my answers at least, these are the different names of, now again, today we're focusing on, for the most part, we're going to focus on vocal arrangement, not as much on like mixing techniques for vocals. I'll do that again. I've done it in one stream, and I'll come back in again and do that again if you're interested in it. But okay, so I said doubles. So then another one is word accents. So I think, was it Leonardo, I think, said punches. And so I would say that punches, I think, let me know, Frankie, let me know, Leonardo, if it's what you mean. So punches or accents on certain parts of the phrase to help it to cut through. So pads is, and also Leonardo's saying pads is basically sustained notes to highlight the harmony. So that would be, pedal point or something like that. Yeah. Okay, so Leonardo, great minds think alike. Awesome. So we've got doubles, word accents, pads, or like I would call them drones or pedal points, where we've got a static harmony that sustains. Yeah. We also have a really famous and very used one, which I'll give you some examples of, is tight vocal harmonies that often happen in the chorus. We might have octave apart doubling, which I think Sophia mentioned that before. We've got a drone or monotone harmony, which is pedal notes. So a part that goes da 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 da. Okay, so it's keeping the same note, or just a drone that's going without singing the lyrics. Okay, contrapuntal lines. Now this is me showing my geeky musical background, but basically this means different ways that independent lines might work in relation to the lead vocal. So they might move parallel, so the interval remains the same. They might move in the same direction, but the interval might change. They might move in, away from each other, or they might move in an oblique way where they go the opposite direction in terms of the interval. Okay, so these other different ways, whatever. Then we have shouts, yelps, or other noises. So the thing that comes to my mind immediately is Michael Jackson. So like the or whatever it is that Michael Jackson does. It's really just a sample, and he does it as used so much, and it gets increasingly used as his career develops, right? So it's not really an ad lib, it's like a sound. Another one that comes to mind for that would be Cardi B. She goes, brrr. So other ones, can you think of other shouts, yelps and noises that are really characterized, like you assign them to the singer, so they're really, let's say, branded to the singer. Can you think of any other examples? Let me know if you can think of other examples. Okay. Oh, cool. Yes, Sam is saying about how music works. Drones in medieval style. So this is like plain chant and music from the churches. Definitely very interesting stuff. Cool. Okay. So we've got ad-libs. Now ad-libs to me is like something that's coming off the main vocal that is fragmenting the main melody. It's kind of it's relating to the main melody, but it falls off or something. Skirt, yeah, totally. Awesome. Awesome. Really, really good. Okay, so we've got lots of ad-libs and stuff like that. And then spoken versus sung. This is also another different kinds of lounge. Oh, yeah, also James Brown. What does he do? Hit me! Or, something like that. And then another arrangement-based technique is call and response. So, someone yelled. I mean, James Brown did that a lot as well. Okay, so we've got lots of different ways that we can really have fun with the lead vocal. So, if you've ever kind of thought, oh God, what do I do with vocal arrangement? How do I enhance it? Well, we've got loads and loads and loads of things that we can do. Awesome, great stuff. Okay, so what types of harmonies commonly get used? So I'll let you think about what types of harmonies. So I'm thinking intervals, right? So what is the most common interval used in harmonies? Let me ask you that question. Whilst I answer that, whilst you think of that and you answer that for me, I'm going to answer Die3 Studio. What do I think of fake harmonies from plugins? I think fake harmonies from plugins are awesome for specific jobs, right? So sometimes they are really appropriate for pop music, for certain types of effects and timbral processing. They're amazing. I use them all the time. They're also used with great creative expression by, virtuosically by like people like Bon Iver. Also Billie Eilish used it really well. I think, though, they're not always working. So for certain types of music, they might not work, or you might try them and then go, oh, God, I actually really want to have singers. For example, if you want a gospel choir effect, you're going to have a hard time really making it feel authentic with fake harmonies. I don't know if anyone's found a plugin that does it, that sounds like an actual gospel choir, let me know. Okay, so coming back to the question that I asked you, yeah, people are saying thirds and fifths. So, and you would be absolutely correct. Okay, so thirds, in fact, are the most common, and they work really well because the thirds are largely consonant, meaning that they don't create a dissonance or too much of a tension, but they have a character in that the sense that they tell us what the key is or the mode, right? So they are emotional and emotive as well. Fifths are more open and they have a more of an open feeling, and they don't give us as much information. So here I've got a few little examples. Now, if you don't read music, never fear, it doesn't matter. I wanted to play you a few examples. So let's, rather than me talking too much, let's get into it. So if we think about, one of the most common things is in the chorus part is to have harmony that's in thirds. So let's check out Billie Jean for starters. Oh, I actually have to just check one thing. Okay, let's check that this is going to come through. Okay. Are you all hearing that? Let me know if you're hearing that. I just want to get to the chorus. Okay, so Billie Jean is not my lover. Billie Jean is da da da. Okay, so that's a third, right? So that means that's a parallel third moving. Awesome. Okay, so that works really, really well. We've also got in the brilliant Free Your Mind by En Vogue.
Prejudice. Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it?
Here you go.
Free your mind.
Okay, now in that example, just to free your mind, this is thirds harmony. So it's kind of closed harmony, as we would say, or triadic, 1, 3, 5. And then the only change, and I thought this was cool to bring out, such an effective 3-part harmony. And the difference is that the interval gets inverted, if that makes sense, okay? So it's A, C, E, and then the E goes to the bottom, and then it's E, A, C. Really powerful, really simple. So I think the message here is that, are you saying about the stream will be blocked from the copyright? Yeah. Well, educationally, I think you're allowed to play it, but also we can play little short excerpts. So I'm just playing short stuff. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah. So this kind of stacked tight harmony is super interesting, I think, as well. Okay. So the message here is that it's simple, really simple stuff that works really well. Okay. So moving on, if we're talking about fourths, fifths, and eighths, now these are open voicings, as I said. They're not giving us the major minor kind of character of the scale. So they're by nature a bit more open. They're often called like church, kind of open voicings or church kind of sounds or whatever. So the beginning of the kind of, is it the pre-chorus or something in Royals, has this perfect fourth interval, which is kind of cool. So let me find it.
I've never seen a grey goose dripping.
Yeah.
No
Here we go.
postcode envy. But every song's
Now.
like gold teeth, grey goose dripping in the.
Okay, so that starts off, it's a bit more of an open sounding harmony. So now the reason that I wanted to walk you through some of this stuff is for you to start to listen when you're listening to, when you're listening to start to pay attention critically to exactly what's going on, okay? Really easy to find stuff out. Also, the old YouTube, Google search and is fine as well. Seventh chords is when we're getting a little bit more complex, and it's, it gives us a little bit more character. So we've got an example of that in Bad Guy, which is the way that the harmonies stack. So let's check that out.
Don't say
to hear.
You hold the place. I do what I want when I'm wanting to.
Okay, so in this one, the harmony gets built up stack by stack, and in the end we have a D7 chord. Okay, so pretty cool, you know. And again, like a pop song that is using a seventh chord is not necessarily the normal. Okay, so yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll deal with the seconds and all that kind of stuff later. But I think for educational purposes, we should be fine. Okay, then we also have Crazy in Love that again has this kind of seventh harmony, but it's in a really interesting place, which is why I wanted to bring it out. Now it's in like somewhere 2 minutes 40. Let me find it. Okay.
The game's over. Fall back young. Ever since I made the change over to platinum, the game's been a rap one.
Okay, so when it goes crazy, my baby, that's just stuck in there in the back. That's actually, if you really listen to it, it's a full voiced G7 chord. Okay, as an accent. It's not just one layer, it's like stacked vocals as an accent. That's pretty impressive. That's really, really cool. Okay, so we can see that we're using thirds and the inversion of sixths, fourths, fifths, octaves. Obviously, you know, octaves is really popular and is used all over the place. Seventh chords I thought was an interesting thing to bring in because it's not the most obvious, you know, and one that I think people would kind of go, no, that's jazz or whatever, right? But not necessarily. And it has a cool kind of vibe if it's something that you know, decide to play around with. So, you know, what type of chords is appropriate obviously depends on the genre that you're working in. Or if you're a genre-free person, then it really just comes down to, I don't know, whatever you like and whatever makes sense for the song. Awesome. Okay. So, moving on. So we think about production changes to alter the sound. Now, as I said, I got into this in very specific detail about how to do it, but really thinking about like what kinds of production changes alter vocal sounds. You know, things obviously like auto-tune, different ways and the different extremities that you can use auto-tune these days. You know, we've got pitch shifting, formant changes. Now, formant changes... how would you understand formant change as opposed to pitch shift? Does someone want to give me a definition of that? Also making a vocal into a synth by sampling. There's lots of ways we can play with it. A lot of people have been asking about fake harmonizing. So you can use a harmonizer or a vocoder. Even more extreme or obvious processing, things like phasers or extreme chorus or just, I don't know, whatever, just wild distortion, telephone distortion. So, you know, lots of different things that you might decide to use, right? So formant changes, no one's given me, okay, so Hydrotech, good man. Formant changing, yeah, it doesn't change the pitch. It's like switching, it's changing the timbre and the way, it's like the idea is that the way that the shape of the, I don't know, the vocal box or whatever, which generally relates to gender, which is... changes the timbre basically and gives us a sense of gender, or it can just like change the sound basically. So one example where this is done really, really well is in Frank Ocean's Nike. So that's done really, really well in a way, you know, in a really artful way. Like I'm a big fan of Frank Ocean, and this has been used in a kind of like downbeat song, and the way that it's been processed is it's just cool. It just sounds really, really good. Yeah. Okay. So lots of other things. You know, FK Twigs does some amazing vocal stuff. Someone said Britney Spears has the best vocal producers. Absolutely. Really, really great stuff. She's an amazing singer, and she's, you know, obviously has a massive team with a big kind of machine behind her to really get that stuff going. So, you know, Bon Iver also does virtuosic stuff with harmony engines and auto tunes and stuff like that. Awesome. Okay. So this is the end of this first part. Now I submit to you before we go to the second part, I really encourage you to check this stuff out. If you don't know artists that use, that kind of have lots of interesting vocal arrangements, you've got my playlist there. You've also got this listening analysis list here of really, Kendrick Lamar, I didn't get a chance to play his stuff, but he's just amazing. Not only does he change the processing and lots of layers, he changes character in the way that he delivers his vocal. So that's another layer again of vocal performance that we don't really have time to kind of get into today. So I really encourage you, if you want to develop and improve your vocal arrangements, really spend time listening to the great people who do great vocal arrangements, and also take all what we've talked about today into your own listening of your own things that you're inspired by to get you excited about your own stuff. All right. So moving over to part 2 now, I have my track. It's called It's Okay. It's from Evol. And an example. Okay. So Sophia's saying, what's an example of ad-lib techniques? That's a very good question. And of course you got me because I didn't set one up. Let me just see what we've got here. Well, Beyonce Crazy in Love, I'd say, has got something in there. Or also Billie Jean. I'm not sure. I don't want to get in too much. Just see. Maybe I'm going to try this. Okay, so there was a little bit there, which is this kind of thing, which is happening as an extra over the vocal at the end of the song. This is kind of an ad-lib. So I didn't really find it exactly, but I'm kind of cautious. I don't want to play too much of the song. But it's this extra kind of singing along or taking a fragment of the melody and going off and doing kind of its own thing. Hopefully that helped a little bit, Sophia. Okay. Okay. Famous duets. I like it. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we're going to get into my mix. Well, no, we're not doing mixing. I just saw the message there about the mix session I'm going to do next week. Actually, look, I'll just pause here and mention that just to support. So next week I am doing mixing again. Now in the mix sessions, I mix one of your tracks. So if you want your track mixed by me live on the stream, where I kind of go through my process and give feedback and deconstruct it all, please join the Discord. If you're just watching this by chance and you don't know what ADSR is or do, then you please check out ADSR. It's an amazing platform and portal for all of these tutorials. We do streams. There's an amazing Discord community where you would submit your tracks for the session next week. You also get plugins and sound banks and all sorts of stuff. So check it out and get your tracks in for if you want me to mix it next week. I do have a Hydrotech track that I think I was going to give a go to. So if you want to pip Hydrotech off the lead, cool. Okay. All right. Someone said Whitney Houston. She's amazing. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is now a listening analysis. I want you all to listen to this as you were going to do at home in your own tracks. And I want you to make note of what are all the different layers, vocal layers in this track. All right. Here we go. In a minute.
listen. It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry. It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry. When they close the doors on you and will we talk on the phone in love again? Or and then feel. I'm not crying, it's too late. I'm not crying, it's too late. It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry. It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry.
All right. Okay. Cool. So it's hard, isn't it, when we go to talk about vocal arrangement, not to get distracted by the production. Classic. And it's also the type of people that we are. You guys are all producers and you do lots of sound design, all that kind of stuff probably. So, but what I want to focus on first, we will talk about I'm not going to deconstruct the production stuff because that's not the name of today's session. And I did a massive, very detailed explanation of how I kind of go about working with these different processing using Autotune 2 weeks ago, so you can check that out. But yeah, so the idea is about, okay, if we were to go back to, let me see, we go back to this and we go back to the first one, which is arrangement-based techniques. So what was going on in that? So we've said doubles, yeah. What else did you hear? Someone said there's kind of pedal stuff. And maybe, do you mean that it's okay, it's okay? Is that what you mean, Zeka? Was the internet connection fluctuating? No, the playback speed shouldn't be fluctuating. Okay, I will give you the answers to that. And that's because that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so, hang on a sec. Let's make that bigger. There we go. Okay, so here are all the vocals and we can check them out. So the first thing that we can have a look at or have a listen to is the lead vocal.
When we find out it won't matter, it was all a game. Will you know my name?
Okay, and as some of you suggested, you heard that some of you said, is the pitch shifting? And it's actually not. I mean, the pitch is shifting, but the vocalist is singing the da 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 like that, singing that. But then I've processed it with formant fluctuations. So I'm kind of messing with the feeling of the voice, so it feels kind of like it's sliding and it's kind of morphing throughout it. So that's the lead vocal. And then in terms of we're focusing on the arrangement, we have a double for this, and that is an exact double.
When we find out it won't matter, It was all a game.
Now, these are different takes, right? Importantly. Okay, so they're different takes. And I have painstakingly processed and edited these so that the transients start at the beginning and end at the end together. The flow is the same. I mean, obviously the singer also performed it well, so they sound very, very close together. But I've really made it exact. And then I've also messed with the format, and I actually use Melodyne to do most of this stuff. Also, there's some auto-tune as well on it. Yes, yeah. So Sophia's saying Vocal Bender is good. Yep, there's lots of really great products out there that do similar jobs. So there's lots of really cool stuff. Okay, so that's that double. And the really important thing here is that the double is exact, okay? And the way that the formant is moving is the same, but it's not exactly the same all the time, because otherwise you'd start to get weird phasey stuff. But it's moving in the same direction, so it's supporting the lead vocal. I also have breaths here. And the breaths have been processed separately, and they've been managed so that they fall in a way that feels natural, because with all the processing, the breaths they were sounding really weird with all of the auto-tune and all that format stuff. So I didn't want that. So the breaths got left out, okay? So that's the detail there that you see. So, okay. We've got the lead vocal. Now, the next thing, the lead vocal thing was Leonardo said about punches, okay, so accents. So accents is a really important aspect of this track to get the energy, and here's the accents. Just pause there. Okay, so you can hear those a bit more. Okay, someone's saying about sound toys. Yeah, sound toys is amazing. Really, really good stuff. Okay, so what is the point of these? When we add them with the lead vocals, they really come to life.
When we find out you matter, it was all a game.
Okay, so it really helps to bring out that pushing down.
You know my name.
Yep.
When the rain falls again.
Okay, so this kind of push again, that kind of thing. I really wanted to bring that out. In addition to this, now again, I'm not talking about mixing and stuff, but we have like automated throws and all this kind of stuff going on with the vocals there as well. Okay, so that's with the lead vocal. The other thing that's going on with the lead vocal is that they're also sent to, I've got even more processing going on. So I've got, now this is where I want to talk about the kind of extra things that you can do. Now these are, I just bounce these down so you could listen to them separately. It's probably this one is a more interesting one to listen to. Okay, so this kind of phasey sound, all of this stuff is like really helping for this, the feeling of this track to kind of like be, you know, kind of sliding and morphing and just sounding kind of a bit fucked up in general, I guess. Feels like it's slowing down a little bit. Yeah, totally. It's definitely messing with your kind of sense of time and reality a little bit is the idea. Yeah. Okay, so that's the main vocal. And then moving on, so we've got that's in the verse, right? And then we have this kind of recurring riff.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so that's the main theme of the song. The song's called It's Okay, and it's this kind of like, I don't know, is it nice or is it creepy? I'm not quite sure. But this effect is this kind of lower voice. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. This, whatever it is. That is a kind of main theme that comes through that and comes back through the track. Okay, so that's the, I guess, the fifth layer of things that we have. Then we have, of course, the chorus. So let's go to the chorus.
It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry. It's okay. We'll fall together. It's okay to cry.
Okay, so it's okay to cry. Yes, it's a song for the pandemic, isn't it? All the things that are going on. It's for emotional, mature future. So the idea about this, and again, we've got the it's okay is setting it up as a kind of a question, which I like that. Was it Hydrotech said that? So it's like, it's okay. And then the chorus comes in and answers it by saying, yeah, it is okay. It's okay to cry. So that's really cool. And thank you for bringing that out, Hydrotech. That's awesome. Really, really cool. Awesome. Okay, so can you see, and you can see here as we're talking about this and thinking about the arrangement, that the thought that is going into building this up so that we're telling a story to the listener, or we're taking the listener on a journey. There's, a very loud motorcycle. Sorry about that. So there's stuff happening in the beginning. Like, why didn't I? Now, this is another question: is why didn't I put the chorus vocals in at the beginning here? And the reason I didn't do it was because it just would have come out of nowhere. So one of the things about vocal arrangement, and remember what I said at the beginning, we are talking vertical in terms of what are the different layers, but we also have to think horizontally. So we also want to think about what is the vocal arrangement over time? How is it helping us to build and create a journey in this song and communicate, meaning, but also excitement and through progression that makes the song kind of, exciting, right? Okay, so we're thinking about the setup in the beginning with the vocal hook that again then comes home with the kind of choir sound in the chorus. So yeah, I think Mary is asking who's doing, or someone, Music Box 716 is saying, who is doing this kind of a vocal arrangement? Like, what kinds of vocal stuff do you do? Do you do doubles? Do you do octaves? Do you like choir stuff? Do you use fake harmonies? Are you using weird effects? Are you having weird loops, or do you have kind of little vocal chants and things like this? Let me know. Let's share with the kinds of things that you're doing. Okay, so now let's have a listen to these harmonies. Now, one of the things that people often ask me about with chorus vocals is, how do you pan chorus harmonies? Okay, so the thing with panning for me is that it needs to feel quite intuitive, right? So I'll just put the chorus stuff on again.
It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry.
So this is actually just octaves. There's no harmonies in this, and the song is kind of quite open actually. So the harmonies would have given it too much of a maybe grounded it in kind of expectation a bit too much. So the octaves kind of keeps it open. So we've got I think this is the main one.
It's okay, we'll fall together.
Now I'll turn off the effects.
It's okay to cry.
Okay, and then we've got a low pair.
It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry.
Now, if any of you are asking are fake doubles and stuff, okay, well, yeah, these are, when they're not fake doubles, they're fake low though, because we didn't have a bass baritone singer, so they're using an octave and a formant kind of shift, which was the effect that we wanted anyway. And then there are the high ones.
It's okay, we'll fall together.
Now you can hear the auto-tune on these is really obvious. Now, again, whispers, thinking, about and this is a pretty simple example, but thinking about like why is the performance of each of these different vocals here? So we've got the main one, which is coming through for the vocals, which is the main one that the listener latches onto. It's the strong main chorus, right? then we have the low, which is giving us that kind of the formant sound, and it's kind of making it more dark and less kind of hopeful. It's got that kind of the darkness, the moodiness in it. And then we have the high breathy ones that people are saying, yeah, I like this, liking the breathy take. And the breathy take is there really importantly because it's bringing in the fragility. You know, it's like going, it's okay to cry, it's okay. You know, and that's really, really important for this song. Even though the song is really boisterous and everything, it needed this, and this is a really conscious thing to put that in there because it was missing something. It's kind of like the ASMR thing, you know, like we're not really consciously noticing it, but we're feeling it when we listen to that chorus, and it kind of gives us something. Okay, so let's have a listen to them all again and see, now that you've heard them separately, how do they sound like together?
It's okay, we'll fall together. It's okay to cry.
And then the effects in there as well. So are the highs and lows octaves? Not only the low, so that's Srinath Laksh, hey, how you doing? The lows are octaves, so that's the formant lower octave, and the high is just a whisper. So it's in the same range, but we just don't have as much of the tone coming through. It's more the, yeah. Yes, it is. The track is on, it is on Spotify. So it's called It's Okay, and it's by Evol, Evvol. All right, so this is explaining the chorus vocals. Now, the final thing to say is about the panning, because again, a lot of people ask about the panning. And the first thing to say, the lead vocals. Now, I've chosen with the main vocals, I never pan them too far out to the sides because then often the chorus feels as though it loses its mono center. Now, this is a mixing thing. I can't help myself. Sorry, I should be talking about arrangement, but. And if you go into mono, sometimes you kind of lose them. So I just push them slightly out to the left and right, so they still feel like mainly like they're in the center. Then I have, now this to me is an intuitive thing that kind of changes around, and I just feel it out. So in this, I decided that like slightly outside of that, this is like called feather panning, I guess, where they go kind of out like that, as opposed to center, left and right, which is it's either in the center or it's hard left or hard right. So there's different ways to pan. I generally use the kind of feather panning approach. So putting them, so what is the main thing that's in the kind of the mono focus, and then something which is just hugging them out, and then a part which is further outside, further out to the left, okay? Further out to the sides. Now with this, sometimes I do pan them hard left and hard right, but for whatever reason I felt like it was too separate, so I wanted them to still be a bit close. So that's the decision that was made there. And the breath that I've got that I'm processing separately is just mono, just up the center. Awesome. Okay, so that is the vocals. Now the final thing to say is that there's a little bridge part which I'll play you. I think. Will I play it or not? Try again.
I'm not crying, it's too late. I'm not crying, it's too late.
Okay, so then this is a final thing of like, no, I'm not crying, it's over, or whatever, however you want to interpret it. But it's, again, this is a bridge section before we come back into the final chorus. Now, thinking again, just to kind of wrap up this idea about the horizontal approach and thinking about how the arrangement builds up, it's, oh, sorry. Oh no, let's go this way. So we want to think about, you know, building as we're building the vocal arrangement. So we start off with a chorus refrain, but we have just the It's Okay loop that sets up, as Hydrotech said, the question or the kind of the anticipation. Then we have the first verse, which is kind of telling the story, creating the mood and the vibe. Then we go straight into the chorus one, which has the It's Okay loop. That is then supported by the stacked chorus. We go into another verse. Now, I wanted to talk about how the verse 2 melody is separate from the verse 1 melody. I mean, this is not always the way. I often like to do this because I just think, if you've already heard the main melody before, the chorus is always the same. The second verse melody, to me, I always think it's more interesting if the second verse melody changes somewhat. I don't know. What do you think? Do you do that in your vocal writing? So that changes a little bit. And then before we go back to the chorus, we have this bridge section, and then that builds up. It takes us away from the A-B with the verse and chorus, takes us away in the bridge, and then brings us back to slam into this final chorus. And in the final chorus, the harmony, the backing harmony has changed, and the rhythmic punctuation has changed. So it has more intensity. So that's the, kind of the horizontal breakdown of the way that I built, or that we built, this vocal arrangement, thinking about all the vertical stuff as well as thinking about the journey in a horizontal way. And I really wanted to make that point, that really thinking about, why am I doing this now, and how am I getting from the beginning of the song, and how is it building and really crafting the song in the most engaging way for the listener. So that's kind of all I have for us. Now, would you believe I finished early, finished on time? That never happens in my life ever. So we've got some time for some questions. Let's see. There's lots of questions here that I haven't answered. So I'm going to go back to Busy was saying. Actually, maybe I'll change back to full face. So Busy saying, you take these decisions in the context or in solo without music and just vocals. The decisions are always made in context with the music. Always. So it's the vocals and the instrumental stuff works together, and they have to be playing off each other, but then also not kind of competing and fitting in together. So I mean, the vocals are very important in this song. So the rest of the arrangement, there's lots of drums going on, but in terms of other harmony, there's only one main kind of synth line. So, I mean, and that's actually another thing that's important to say, is that when you've got a really busy, if you've got a really active vocal arrangement, you probably don't want to have a super active harmonic and instrumental parts and all that kind of stuff. It's like really hectic to fit it all in. So if you think about someone really amazing, like, Michael Jackson, like Billie Eilish, like Beyonce, the layering and the beats and stuff like that is pretty chill, the beat and the production of the beats and everything is amazing, and the sound design. But if we're thinking about the complexity and the amount of layers in the arrangement, not necessarily so much. So think about the relationships and the balance of that when you're building your vocal arrangements into your song. Awesome. Okay. So Sam is saying, if you compress the vocals, do you do it before the other effects or after, or both maybe? Yeah. So we're sliding on into mixing questions, but that's no problemo. So with compression, I think it's a kind of not a really satisfactory answer, but the reality is it really depends. So if I think that, if the vocal wasn't compressed when it was recorded, I would compress it first. Then, yeah. So I would compress it first probably, because they'll be all over the place in terms of the levels, right? So I would compress it first to control it, and then I might EQ it and add other effects and stuff like that. In terms of doing any other effects, like you're probably asking Melodyne and auto-tune and formant shaping and stuff like that, there's different ways. Like some people like to do it with a raw vocal, and other people like to do it with a processed vocal. Now, I would say, keep in mind, raw vocal generally means a vocal that has been recorded that has already been kind of balanced a little bit with compression and EQ in the studio when it was recorded, right? So that means the kind of subtle control in a recording kind of engineering sense, but not full kind of shaping in a mixing or production sense. Does that answer your question? I hope so. You've got to be careful. Now, one of the other things that is really important when you start to work with auto-tune, sound toys, Blender, manipulator, melodyne, any of them, all of these things that are changing the vocal characteristic, is that the tendency is that you're going to get lots of artifacts that are brought in. So the artifacts are things that are not like necessarily good parts of the sound, right? So, and that often sits in things like sibilance will increase, the breaths will get, they'll get kind of like Darth Vader-y. You might get more kind of catching on the transients. Lots of different things like that kind of happens, right? So you really have to be aware of that. And then when you're going, you know, if you're thinking about how you're processing it, you know, fix it, I guess is the short thing. You know, that's one of the real dangers of this stuff. And that's probably the most common thing that I see is that people have used lots of pitch changing and everything. And then they've just like not heard and have introduced all this other really gnarly stuff that makes it not very fun or enjoyable because our ears are being assaulted by all these artifacts. So be careful about that. So 2K76 is saying, could I please go over de-essing? I kind of can't now because we don't have that much time. I will talk about de-essing and I'll talk about it next week. Look, I will actually because I just eyed a de-esser. Okay. So let's see what we got here. So this is a cool de-esser. This is one off the Slate package, I think. Cool. No worries, Sam. Awesome. Okay. So with the de-essing is a fixed band or a kind of narrow determined band compressor essentially. Okay. So you determine which frequency, part of the frequency, and then when the sound goes over the threshold, it will push down on it. So it will compress the sound in that frequency range, okay? So what's the range for S's? Who wants to tell me what the range for S's is? It changes depending on the sound and the person, the syllable, the microphone. There's lots of different things that can impact it. So you really have to listen in. So that's kind of higher in the 8.5, 9,000, or shh is lower. So that's more to like the 2,000, or that's actually really low. Whatever. I'll stop. I'll stop doing that. Okay. So yeah. So the sibilance goes from like 2K up to 12 or whatever. So you need to listen and try and figure it out. So in a de-esser, you generally can listen into where is it? I can't figure out how to do it on this one right now, but you basically can listen in. So on this de-esser, this is the band area that I want to cut out. And then, so it's at 7.24 kilohertz, right? Oh, hang on. I'm not showing you my screen. Okay, here is my de-esser. So this de-esser, it's pushing down, around 7.5K basically. Okay, so when any sound gets over the threshold, as I've said it will push down in this range here. Okay, let's see if I can make it work on the verse. Oh, hang on, here we go.
We find out it won't matter. It was all a game.
Oh no. Oh, they're a little bit there.
We find out it won't matter. It was all a game.
Oh, that doesn't seem to be working right now. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Anyway, look, we have to kind of leave it there. For whoever asked that question to 2K76, please tune in to another stream and I'll make sure that I go over de-essing further. There is also one of my mix, I think it was mix session number 2 that I did. I did a really detailed vocal production one and I talked about de-essing. So in quite a lot of detail actually. So there is stuff that's online, you can check it out, and I'll do some more as well. Okay, Bat Pop. Awesome. Okay, everyone. Last chance to get in your questions if I didn't answer them, because there was a lot of chat today, which was awesome, but I may have missed some. So if anyone has a question that wasn't answered, please throw it in again. Yes. So also just a final thing, make sure you send in your track if you want it to be mixed live by me and get some real insight into your process, and please do so. So I'm seeing Cross Prime is saying when to use a limiter in vocal. Never. That would be my short answer. Now, I know that that's not necessarily true, because I know that all the trap and everyone is kind of like slamming everything. But really, I think if you have to ask, and this might sound a bit rude and I don't mean it to sound rude, if you need to ask when you should use it, it probably means you shouldn't use it, right? So the times when you would use a limiter, you have a really clear understanding of why you have to use a limiter right now. If you don't know that you absolutely have to use it, then, the best thing is to use a compressor and really understand. I think the main thing is really understand dynamics processing, understand what it does. Limiters really bring in. Now, let me say why I said never. Now, that was a bit mean, because of course people do use them, right? So it's not really helpful for me just to tell you not to use it. But the thing about limiting, and one of the reasons why it's kind of like, we kind of just say watch out with it, is that for two reasons. Is that number one, it brings in really gnarly artifacts, and if you can't hear it or you don't fix it, it can ruin the whole vocal. Number two is that when you slam the vocal, it doesn't have any dynamics, and then the tendency, and this is definitely something I see with people that are developing their productions and mixes, is that their mixes sound boring. They sound flat. Because one of the most exciting things about music is that movement, it's compression and refraction, it's vibration, right? So if there's no movement, if it's all right up here all the time, it's not interesting to listen to, okay? So you've got to be really careful if using limiting. If you need to use limiting on the vocal, you've probably because you've slammed everything else, and all the drums are really... they're all limited as well, right? Okay, so where's your headroom in your mix? Okay, so there's lots of questions to that I'd probably want to unpack. We can take that up next week in my mixing session. I hope I didn't offend you by saying never. Thank you for asking the question. It's a really good question to ask, and it's definitely one to talk about more. All right. Okay, everyone, that's a wrap for today. I'm going to sign off, and I really hope to see you all next week, next Tuesday. Yes, Lynn is asking a question about multiband limiters in the mix or master. That will be held over till next week. Please join, and we'll answer that question and many more. All right, signing off, y'all. Have a lovely week. See you later. Bye.